Welcome to the book launch for my new book, Practice Guide for Magdalene Sacred Sexuality, which I am super excited about. And I'm here with my good friend, Suvani Stepanek. So I want to start with giving some time to Suvani to introduce herself and tell a little bit about how she knows me.
Thank you, Mercedes. Welcome to everyone. I'm so happy to be here today for this really special day for the book launch of Mercedes' new book. I've known Mercedes for a number of years now. She's a dear friend, and I also took a number of courses from her over the years. I have read quite a number of her books, and she's a fantastic teacher and channel and wonderful friend. So I'm so happy to be here today with everyone and to support this book launch. This material, I believe, is very, very significant and very important. So I'm so happy that she's written this practice guide to go along with the original book.
Mm. Thank you so much, Suvani.
You're
I
welcome.
also want to mention that Suvani joined me on one of my Magdalene retreats in France, and that was a very wonderful and bonding experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. So, Mercedes,
Okay.
what is sacred sexuality? And what do you mean by Magdalene sacred sexuality?
Thank you. The material in this book, and really in all my books, has come through my channeling work, and in this book, through channeling Mary Magdalene. I just want to start with a quote from Mary. And this is from the first book of messages that I ever put out from Mary Magdalene, called Mary Magdalene Beckons, Join the River of Love. And right in the first book and in the very early messages, she started talking about sexuality because she was talking about us really becoming strong in our feminine side for both women and men. And sexuality is a part of that. So she started talking very early on about sexuality and the importance of it for our spiritual growth and development. And so this quote is from that first book, Mary Magdalene Beckons. And in this quote, she describes sacred sexuality as consciously and intentionally making your sexuality about union with the divine. And I want to pause there because this is Mary Magdalene's primary focus. It's her passion is union with the divine in all realms, in all regards. And it's what she most wants to help us with, is how we can know union with the divine. So her approach to sacred sexuality is very focused on this, just like her approach to everything, is making our sexuality about union with the divine. And so this is the second part of that quote. And she said, then it is a form of communion with the divine and will open you to your higher self and the higher realms. And specifically, this is the teaching that I have received from Mary Magdalene is all about helping us to grow in our spirituality, to know and to more and more access our higher self, and also to access the higher realms. She and Yeshua, who's the same as Jesus, um, that's their orientation, is that our spiritual growth is about fulfilling our spirituality in this realm, which you could call 3D, third dimension, and moving into the next realm, which is 4D or fourth dimension. And sexuality is a part of that. Sacred sexuality is a part of that, that can open us up to our higher self and to the higher realms. And another way of looking at sacred sexuality is that it's an energy practice. And fundamentally, the fourth dimension is an energy realm. And so sacred sexuality is very much a part of that. Many people are familiar with energy practices, and there are things that many people engage that are could be considered energy practices. Some of these are yoga, qigong, tai chi, martial arts. All of these work with our energy, and when you engage them, most often you feel different in your energy. You feel energized, you feel uplifted, and you feel your energy body activated. And sacred sexuality is similarly an energy process. So it's an energy process that you can do as a single person. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with a partner. You can do it as a pure energy exchange, or you can add it into your sexuality, your physically engaged sexuality. So there's lots of ways to engage it and lots of options for people. The other thing I want to say about Mary Magdalene is that, again, in the first book, Mary Magdalene Beckons, she gave this information about herself. She doesn't like to focus on herself in her work with me. She likes to focus on us and what she can do to support our growth. But especially initially, when she first started coming to me, she did give some information to help me and others understand who was speaking and where she was coming from, how she sees herself. And so there was more of that in the first book in Mary Magdalene Beckons. I would say a bit of it. And as part of that, she shared that she was trained in sacred sexuality through the Egyptian temple of Isis, and that she was a high priestess in the Egyptian temple of Isis. And sacred sexuality was one part of that temple, one part of what was practiced and engaged through the whole temple system. And that the practices that she has shared with me and now through the books with all of us are practices that come through that Egyptian Temple of Isis lineage. And I believe that the that was a very old lineage that even predated some of the spirituality in the Middle East, and eventually it was transported to India, and that I believe the sacred sexuality practices that are known as Tantra, which is the Indian word for sacred sexuality, originated in Egypt in the Temple of Isis, and that was her background. So this is a very ancient practice, but very applicable to us today.
Thank you, Mercedes. The next question here, besides connection to the divine, are there other benefits to practicing sacred sexuality?
There sure are. And most people I know who practice sacred sexuality love it and are very glad that they have learned this practice. It still is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it's very accessible. People can learn it. And to me, besides the primary focus that Mary has on it of being an avenue of union with the divine, there are other wonderful benefits. And that includes the first one is opening your heart. It's a very, very powerful practice for opening your heart. And hopefully, in the demonstration we're going to do later in this book launch, you will experience that and get a taste of what that is. But that is a very fundamental aspect of sacred sexuality and a very common experience that people have when they engage it, is that it's very heart opening. And right along with that goes that it has the effect of deepening your connection and your intimacy with a partner. So if you're choosing to engage it in relationship or with a partner, um, it not only opens your heart for your own self to experience that heart opening, but the connection with your partner is greatly enhanced through engaging sacred sexuality. It also is very pleasurable. Most people find sexuality pleasurable. And I believe, and my feedback from other people is that sacred sexuality increases the pleasure of sexuality. So that's another great benefit. And the last thing, as Mary has uh, focused on, and as we touched on earlier, it will expand your spirituality and be an integration of your spirituality with your sexuality. And I believe that it's one of the practices that can be a great support for shifting and opening to the fourth dimension and the higher dimensions. So all of those are very important benefits as well.
Mhm. Thank you, Mercedes. What motivated you to write this book?
In this first book that I've referenced several times, Mary Magdalene Beckons, Mary was focusing on how we can grow in our feminine and our feminine side of our spirituality. And as I mentioned, sexuality was a part of that. But the primary thing she was focusing on was our emotions and our emotional growth, because she said that would help us more than anything else if we could do that work. But even as she was giving me all the messages for the first book, I knew that she had more to share relative to sexuality. So then she started right up after we finished the first book with a second book where she did focus on sexuality. And that book was Sublime. Let me get this in my camera here. There we go. Sublime Union. What Mary asked of me is she said she really wanted me to share my story of engaging sacred sexuality with my partner at the time. And so, and that she would guide us in our process. And that's what she did. And it was an amazing journey that lasted a year. And then at the end of the year, I put out the book, which was um, about sharing all my experiences during this year-long journey of Mary guiding my partner and me. But it also included all the instruction that she was giving us relative to sacred sexuality. So now, forward to the book is out. I'm getting feedback from people, and people are coming to me and saying, I want to learn sacred sexuality. Or people were coming to me with their partners saying, we want to learn sacred sexuality. And so I started doing individual work with people and teaching people the sacred sexuality processes from Mary. So my idea in putting out this book was to record just the practices from Mary so that if people wanted to engage this process, and I certainly hope that's the case because I highly recommend it, that it would be accessible to people through the book and they could follow this. And it doesn't, it's most of what's in this book is you can find it in the second book, Sublime Union, although I added a little more in this new book to fill in the gaps that weren't in Sublime Union. But it's not so easy to follow because it's all wrapped in with my story. So the idea is this book, the new book, Practice Guide for Magdalene Sacred Sexuality, is just a practice manual. It has I have to look this up. I think it has 31 practices and it just goes there's an introduction, there's a part that goes over the basic principles, and then the rest is practices. And it just goes step by step through each of the practices, starting at the very basic fundamental level and all the way to very advanced, what I call the esoteric level for people who already have an orientation or people who feel ready and want to really do the advanced practices, which are very spiritually based also.
Thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. Next question here. Can singles engage these practices? And what about seniors?
Yes, most definitely. Senior singles can engage these practices. There are some practices, and especially they tend to be the further along practices, the more advanced practices that are primarily for couples, but or for practicing with a partner. Um, but there are many, many practices in the books that are for singles. And for all the reasons that people might engage sacred sexuality, those apply for the most part to singles as well, as far as uniting with the divine, opening up your heart, growing your energy body, and supporting you in opening to the fourth dimension and the energy realm. And so these are things, and the one that we're doing today will be an example of a solo. This is called solo practice in sacred sexuality, things that you can do by yourself on your own. It's also highly recommended um, to begin learning sacred sexuality, to do the practices on your own first before you engage them with a partner. And hopefully, your partner will have done that also. And then when you start the partner practices, you'll be much more prepared and it will be stronger and easier to do them together, in relationship. So, definitely, singles, people who are not in a relationship or are single can do these practices. As far as seniors, most definitely seniors can do these practices, although the caveat is if you have health issues, please consult with your professional health person, whoever that is, your doctor or whoever, to make sure it's safe for you to do these practices. But in general, yes, seniors can most definitely do these practices. And um, these practices can be done in many different ways. They can be done as the primary way that you engage intimacy in a relationship. Again, like I said, they can be done as solo practices, but in a relationship, it can be the primary way if you really like this. And as I have found, this is what I love to do, and this is the primary way I like to engage intimacy with a partner. Or it can be another option. It can expand your choices of how you engage your intimacy with your partner. And some of the options also are, as I said earlier, it can be engaged as an energy practice without physical sexuality. Um, and then it can also be engaged in the midst of physical sexuality. It can be integrated into that. With seniors, there are often issues with sexuality. Your sexuality tends to change as you age. And for some people, there are challenges with sexuality, or some people may lose interest in physical sexuality with age. And this can be a way to engage intimacy with a partner that might work for you if physical sexuality isn't entirely working for you. And it will still have the benefits of being very bonding, very heart opening, and very pleasurable. So I think all seniors should know about sacred sexuality. I think all people should know, but I highly recommend seniors as part of that, that this can be a real uh, benefit to your life altogether.
Thank you, Mercedes. Um, well, you addressed it just slightly, but have you included your experiences in the book? And if so, what are some of the experiences you've had engaging sacred sexuality?
Well, I have had many, many experiences. That would take a long time for me to share all my experiences, but I can certainly share one. Um, My experiences are shared in detail in Sublime Union. This is, if you want to know about experiences, this is very experiential. Um, I didn't do that in this book because in this book, I'm wanting to just focus on making it very simple, streamlined. Here's what you need to practice sacred sexuality yourself. So the two can be companion volumes, and some of my early readers told me that they were reading them together and that they especially liked that. So that's one option is to read both books and then you get both sides of the coin there. But I will share one of my experiences that I don't share in Sublime Union. This is a time when I was practicing sacred sexuality with someone who was very, very special to me, who was a sacred sexuality teacher. He has transitioned into the next realm, but I was very fortunate to know him and engage sacred sexuality with him for a period of time earlier in my life. And this was a time when we were doing sacred sexuality together as a pure energy practice. We were not engaging it physically as, physical sexuality. And what we were doing was engaging the chakras, which are our seven energy centers in the body. And sacred sexuality works a lot with the chakras. And that's very much a part of this book is the chakra work. This is an aside. This is another reason why people may want to engage sacred sexuality even as a single, because it's wonderful for opening your chakras, for learning about the chakras, and for harmonizing all your chakras so that they're open and they're working together. So, forgot that as one of the benefits, but that's really important too. So, anyway, back to my story. I was engaging with this man in this sacred sexuality energy practice that was based in all the chakras for an extended period of time. We did this for about 45 minutes. And at the right around that time, something happened that I experienced very strongly. And after we completed our practice, when we were sharing with each other about our experiences, it turned out he had the exact same experience. So we were experiencing this simultaneously, where I shifted into a higher dimension, which and this was before the time when I was channeling and had as many experiences as I have since had with higher dimensions. This was a very new experience for me at this time. I felt like I shifted into an angelic realm, and all of a sudden it was like my higher chakras, my higher centers, and my third eye, especially just opened up and everything felt full of light, infused with light. And the bliss was absolutely overwhelming. And it wasn't like I was seeing particular beings or having any particular experience other than this amazing experience of beingness in this higher realm that felt unbelievably blissful. And it's like we were suspended in this realm. Time stopped, space stopped, other than this light realm that we seem to be in. And we just were there for a period of time. And then very gently and gradually, we returned back to our bodies, the third dimension, each other. And once we settled, that's when we started sharing what we had both experienced. And it was so profound and so powerful. And I consider experiences like this windows where we get a glimpse of what's possible, where we're headed. Sometimes there can be deep healing that happens in these kinds of experiences. Sometimes there can be openings and we are changed afterwards. Um, I I have deep faith in spirit that whatever we need is given to us. And it can be any of those things or even something else that's very personal to us. But for me, it felt like a beautiful gift and definitely one of those glimpses of what's possible.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Mercedes. Mm.
Mm.
The next question is, what's your experience teaching this material to other people?
In my experience, I would say there's kind of two different people who have come to me to learn about sacred sexuality. There are some people who are very open to energy. They feel energy, they sense it in their body, and so I can direct them at the energy level, and they feel very familiar with that, very comfortable with that, and they can follow it. These are the people who are easiest to work with. And in some ways, I feel like they're ripe. They're really ready for sacred sexuality because it is an energy practice. But I have also had people come to me who aren't like that, who don't tend to experience energy the way that some people do. And when I start talking about energy, they have expressed to me that they're not sure what I'm talking about, and they're kind of not sure what to do. And to those people, I say they can still open up energetically, and these practices will really help them to open up energetically. And what I recommend in those cases is that you just do the steps, whether you feel it, whether you experience the energy or not, just do the steps. And over time, it will grow and you will start to have experiences of energy. The other thing that I tell people to do is to imagine. If you can't feel the energy and feel the energy in your body, feel it moving, circulating, whatever the practice is suggesting, imagine that that is happening and intend that it's happening. And over time, it will start to be the case that that is what's happening. But for some people, it's harder at first because they don't have the visceral sensation that some people have. And oftentimes, I find this in couples where one person is very energetically open and the other person is like, I don't know what they're talking about, or I don't know what they want me to do. And that's where these practices can really help because they're step by step. Most all of them are laid out with numbers. You do this first one, then two, then three, very clear. And so for the person who's less confident, less sure, or even less clear about what is this energy stuff, having these very definitive steps can really help. I've seen beautiful openings where people get so excited about sacred sexuality, and suddenly it's like a light bulb goes on, and they get it, and they're like, "Wow, this is really cool." And one of those experiences I had was when I was working with a couple where the woman was the one who was instigating working with me. She was the one who really wanted to learn more about sacred sexuality and integrate it with her partner into their intimacy. The man was coming for her. I was very aware of this, that he was unsure, unclear what this was all about, somewhat reluctant, but he trusted her and he could tell this was important to her, and so he was willing to give it a try. And so in this case, this was one of those examples where the man wasn't so familiar with feeling energy in his body. But I actually worked with them. It was a 1 day intensive. So I worked with them over several hours over the course of a day. And he got more familiar and he got connected to what we were doing and what we were talking about. And at the end, he had that light bulb moment where all of a sudden he felt it. He could feel the bliss in his body and he could feel the expansion and he could feel the connection with his partner. And he got so excited. And then what he said just completely delighted me. He said, I've got to tell my brother about this. And I heard from the woman later that they continued to engage sacred sexuality after our initial intensive, and we're very happy about that.
Oh, okay. Mercedes, could you lead us in a sacred sexuality practice as a demonstration of what's in the book?
I certainly can, and I would be delighted to do that. So, this is one of the earlier foundational practices. Uh, it's a part of a practice. I'm not going to do the whole practice here, but we're going to do a part of a practice. So, what I recommend is that everyone hopefully follow along with me and engage this as I talk you through it right now. And so the preparation, you want to be comfortable. If you are sitting, that's great. You can also do this lying down, but sometimes I think sitting is better because sometimes people fall asleep when they lie down. So if you can be sitting, that's what I recommend. But whatever is comfortable for you. And what I want to start with is having you close your eyes and put your hands over your heart. And then tune into your breath. And for this tuning into your breath, what can be helpful is to relax your belly. If you're engaging your belly muscles, let your belly go and be soft so that your breath drops down in your body, all the way down into your pelvis. And just take a few moments and a few breaths to tune into your breathing. If you're able, I recommend breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you can have your tongue resting behind your front teeth. Breathing is very important in sacred sexuality. Our breath is very connected to our energy. And so opening to our breathing, deepening in our breathing is part of the foundational practice. And as we engage sacred sexuality, including engaging it with physical sexuality, maintaining your relaxed, open breathing is very important. So now I want to invite people to maintain this breathing that we've initiated, breathing all the way down into your pelvis, but shift your focus to your heart and see if you can feel your heart center. One of the chakras is your heart chakra, and we're tuning into that energy center at the heart right now. So first, see if you can feel it as the first focus of tuning into it. What do you experience at your heart? When you bring your awareness to something, it often increases the energy. So you may feel an increase of energy at your heart as you focus on it. Now, what I want to add is the breath. So imagine that you're breathing into your heart and then sending energy out from your heart on your exhaled breath. Inhale, breathing into the heart. Exhale, breathing out from the heart. And you may experience another increase in your energy by adding in the breath in this way. Now I want to add in visualization. I want to invite you to visualize your heart like a glowing ball of energy that has a greenish color to it. The heart chakra is often associated with the color green. So visualizing your heart center as glowing green light, like a ball of energy. Now, keeping your eyes closed, I want to invite you to shift your focus to one of the lower chakras. This is the second chakra that is often called the sacral chakra. It's at the base of the abdomen or on the back of your body. It's right where the back of your pelvis is, the sacrum. And this is your second chakra, and it's the one associated with energy and with sexuality. So now I want you to focus on that lower second chakra, your sacral chakra, and see if you can feel that part of your body, the sacral area. Many of us don't tend to feel much lower than our throat. We tend to live in our head and we tend to feel mostly our head. So dropping all the way down into this lower part of our body can be a different experience for many people. And now I want to invite you to add the breathing. So add your breath into that sacral area, breathing in to the sacral area, and then as you exhale, breathing out from the sacral area. And I forgot to mention this, but it might help to have your hands down at that sacral area, so at the base of your abdomen, kind of the belly area. And as you breathe, you might feel your belly expanding, and then exhale, and the belly recedes a little bit. And now I want to invite you to add in the visualization. The second chakra is associated with the color orange. So I want to invite you to visualize this sacral area as a glowing ball of orange light. Even as you continue breathing into and out of your sacral chakra, seeing a glowing ball of orange light at your sacral chakra. And notice how that feels. Notice if you're able to sense the energy of your sacral chakra. And now I invite you to keep one hand on your sacral chakra and return one hand to your heart chakra. So you have a hand on each. And now what we're going to do is connect the two chakras. So I want you to breathe to both chakras, your heart chakra and your sacral chakra, breathing into both chakras and out from both chakras. And sensing, feeling, or imagining the connection between the two chakras as you do this. And now I invite you to relax your hands down in your lap or at your side. And just notice if you feel different from when we began the practice. Notice if you feel more energy or where you feel energy in your body. And then gently reopen your eyes and coming back into our meeting. And I didn't warn you I was going to do that, but I want to invite you, Suvani, if you'd like to share anything about what you experienced during that process.
Mm. Well, it was so beautiful. I mean, I felt a lot of very peaceful, loving energy opening. And so I felt that on a sort of an emotional level. But I also felt this beautiful, it was a beautiful feeling of balance of the chi in my body. You know, it's just like, particularly at the end when we were balancing or bringing together the heart and the sacral, there was that feeling of equanimity and calm and peace and a nice balanced flow of chi through my body. So it was a wonderful practice. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you so much. And I noticed that I feel enlivened, invigorated. I definitely feel more energy flowing in my body, and it's pleasurable. I enjoy that feeling. If any of you who are here watching this, or even later when people are watching the recording, if you want to write me and share any experiences you had during that process, I would love to hear. So I invite that. So we're near the end of our time. I want to remind people about purchasing the book, Practice Guide for Magdalene Sacred Sexuality. And It's available in paperback through Amazon worldwide and also um, by special order at your local bookstore, and will be available soon through ebook as well. I want to close our time for today with a quote from Mary Magdalene. And this again is from that first book, Mary Magdalene Beckons. Mary Magdalene. In this world, you are always moving toward God or away from God. If your desire is to always be moving into divine union, you must choose and engage that. And it includes your sexuality. Then it is a gift and blessing that will grow you, your partner, and the world in love and beauty and joy and light. There are many ways to bring forth your blessings of love and light. Sexuality is one such way, a very beautiful and sacred way. So I want to thank all of you for being here with me. Thank you so much to you, Suvani, for helping me and joining me. And I hope you all feel moved to buy the book and read it and then get in touch with me and let me know what you think. I want to hear everyone's feedback. If you're not already on my mail list, you can get on the email list by going to my website, which is mercedeskirkel.com. And you can join my newsletter. Through the newsletter, I'll be telling people about future offerings. So thank you again, and many blessings to all of you.